Okay, so recently we went to the Capitol twice, once for Disability Rights Legislative Day and once for a follow up. What would you guys say is your favorite thing about taking our clients to the Capitol?
I really enjoy the opening rally. All of our individuals, we've gone to the opening rally 2 years. So I would say probably seeing that the first year we had gone, we arrived late, so we weren't able to see that. But we get to see all the other individuals with all the other providers. And so I really enjoy that part. And I think the clients enjoy it as well.
For me personally, I think the most enjoyable part is the shock and joy of our clients' faces when they see everybody rallying together and they see all of the people who are there for the same reason as them, and makes them feel so much more included and involved in what's going on around them. This last one that we went to, we had all taken a client from our programs, and the young lady that I took with me, she almost cried when they were discussing the reason why we were there, and all of the presenters at the rally, like Emma was saying. We were at the top. We were getting to see everybody beneath us, and I turned around and she was almost in tears with how happy and included she felt.
Yeah, and I will say, I think it was the year before last year when we went, we did have an individual cry. She was so moved, and it was during the rally. And she was moved to tears during that, just the inclusion and just really the purpose. And it's such a great day that just reminds us of why we do what we do. Well, I'm Danielle. Today I'm hosting our podcast, Hopeful Connection, and I'm here with Emma Odell, who is our Buffalo Excel program coordinator and senior program coordinator over our day programs, and Kayla Shoop, who is our Warsaw Excel coordinator.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
So, okay, let's talk about Disability Rights Legislative Day. Any of you want to give our viewers kind of a rundown of just what the day is?
Yeah, so we typically try to take all of our programs in the state, and we each get to take an individual. Occasionally, our DSPs will also join. And so Danielle comes up with a list of different legislators, and we go to visit them. We hand out different flyers and business cards, and just explain to the legislators why we do what we do, our clients, what they enjoy at the day programs, what community outings they go on, what activities they do while they're at the center is a really big focus throughout the day. Like we had touched on earlier, the opening rally. So we get there in the morning and we do the opening rally, and then we break off. We have different legislators per different counties that we typically go and see. We visit them, and then we regroup, and we often do the same thing in the afternoon by visiting different legislators in the area.
Anything to add?
I think, honestly, on my side of things, it's the focus around the clients that is kind of the point of the day. So that's when she says we go and see legislators, I think bringing the clients is really what I focus on. So that's really all that I have to touch on.
Sure, yeah. I think this year, Disability Rights Legislative Day felt a little different than in previous years. I think every year, Disability Rights Legislative Day is important to our clients and to us, but I think that this year, obviously, Missouri was facing some pretty significant budget cuts that were going to affect, waivered services, and Dayhab is one of those. And so this year, I think the energy felt a little different in the Capitol. I don't know if you guys picked up on that, but it was almost just a higher energy. Everybody was really there for more of a purpose. And not that they're not there for a purpose every year, but I think that a lot of times it's clients are getting to meet the legislators and we're getting to share personal stories, and that's great. But this year it was really like, okay, we're here for a purpose. We want to restore our budget, and we're all going to work together to do that. And I think that that was a really great feeling. And I think that was one of the most important parts of Disability Rights Legislative Day, but I would agree that, again, the client experience and including them into the Capitol, and they're getting to access the Capitol, they're getting to interact with people, they're getting to talk to legislators and share their stories, and I think that that's so important because not only are they just having a normal human interaction, but there's purpose behind it, and they're getting to share their experience to influence the legislators. So I think that's a really good point that you made.
We spend a lot of time too in up to Disability Rights Day preparing the individuals that we choose to take with us as well. So we talk to them about what their favorite activities are and really give them a foundation to prepare them for talking to these legislators. So that way they feel more confident when we have those discussions, they're able to recall. We have different scripts that we've used in the past to help them be more successful as well. So.
And I think as we've grown and gotten to take more of our clients from different programs, I think it's really fun, and it's honestly a little beautiful to see some of our clients communicating about the things that they're enjoying and seeing at the Capitol. They're communicating about the architecture, the people themselves, the things that they're doing in their day programs that they just haven't talked about in a while with anybody familiar. So I think that's a very fun part of it as well.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about preparing the individuals to speak to the legislators and to share their stories. Can you tell us a little bit about what other preparations as far as the logistics on the DAHAB side of things of just preparing and getting everyone to the Capitol, what that looks like?
Yeah. So we coordinate with their families prior to, because typically coordinators will transport all of our individuals. So logistically, we're coordinating the pickup and we're coordinating the drop-off times for them. We're also coordinating with our team at each program if we have DSPs going with us, what kind of it looks like. A lot of our individuals work really well on structure that we serve, and so preparing them for just the low-key security that they do have at the Capitol, we're preparing them for what that looks like so they are less overwhelmed because there is a lot of people throughout the day. So we want them to be safe. We want them to feel that they can express themselves and tell the stories and not be overstimulated in those moments. So we focus a lot about having those discussions. For those who have gone a lot, we have a lot of past experience to build on. And so we're able to reference, there's stairs, we're able to use the elevators. And so we prepare our individuals to be able to maintain the movement throughout the day as well.
Yes, lots and lots of stairs. Mm-hmm. And if you're taking the elevator, you're going to be waiting for 20 minutes.
Oh, yes.
What about for your program?
Well, we just opened Warsaw last year. We haven't even hit a year yet, so we've only gone once from Warsaw, twice this year with a different day. But the first time was with, again, our female client and communicating with her host home. Her host home was ecstatic to hear that she was getting to go to the Capitol. It was actually a conversational piece of, hey, remember, we're preparing for this. We are having conversations about appropriate attire. We're having conversations about what to say, what not to say when you're in a professional setting. So I think the hype of it was really when you ask their host homes months in advance, sometimes weeks, but usually months in advance. And it's the hype that they get as they get closer. And then once you're getting to walk up to the Capitol, there's that conversation of, well, what are we going to do next? And the clients are always so focused on what they're going to do next because of that hype from the initial conversation.
It's a little bit like they're meeting celebrities.
It really is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what I would compare it to.
Yeah.
Important celebrities that shape important decisions for the state that influence their lives.
And it's interesting, too, when they actually get to step up and talk to the celebrity, the legislators, because they start to freeze up a little bit. I actually will brag about the young woman that I brought last time. She did phenomenal. She sat down and she spoke with a couple of legislators and she had some things to say, and she made her opinion known that she didn't feel it was right, that somebody was getting to choose what was going on with her life, and she didn't even know these people that were choosing. So once we were on our way home, she expressed that she was excited to see some of the people that are making these choices, and she felt like she really made a difference. Yeah. And that was miraculous.
And so I would say the first time we went on Disability Rights Legislative Day, we took the client you're speaking of, and she did phenomenal. She was pretty comfortable speaking, which was great. But then I would say we went back a few weeks later and you took your whole group. And on that day, she really stepped up as a leader. And to see that in her was really cool, to see that quality come out. And I remember we had written thank you cards, and she was going to be the one to hand them out and hand them to the legislators. And we had to kind of intervene and be like, oh, let's give somebody else a turn. But she was really comfortable and really excited to do that. And that was really cool because one of the big parts of our program, is teaching those interpersonal skills, conversation, and that community access. And I think on days like this, we really get to see that in play, and we get to see the work that we've put into our programs.
Yeah, when I first met her, when she first started attending a few years ago, she didn't have as much of an opinion, as much of a voice, but through our program, through all of the activities, the communicating, the socializing, the integration in the community itself, she has blossomed into such a bright young woman.
Yes, she has. Yeah. And she's a good speaker too. Mm-hmm. I mean, just the way she conversates is really, really smooth, and we should probably have her on here.
Well, and to go back to what we were talking about with the rally, she was empowered by everything happening around her, and it was a spark. It was a fire that was just blazing as she was watching everybody with the same opinion, with the same passion, even more passion in some areas. And I think that really pushed her to want to stand up for what she believed in.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are some of the impacts, Emma, of the rally that you've seen when we've been in the Capitol?
I think, like you had said earlier, the energy, I think, we can do all the work that it takes to prepare our individuals for what that looks like, who's going to speak. Different legislators spoke this time that some of our individuals, we have programs in those communities. And so familiar faces, they were able to see those individuals take the stand and speak. But I feel like the energy was probably, like you had said, just the big difference this year. So I think that coincides to just the impact that it has on our individuals. So they know, what's being proposed right now in different talks in the program. They aren't naive to that concept. So I think when we were preparing them to go, we were really helping them understand their why. Why do I attend the program? And then if I were to lose the program, what cost is that going to take on my life? And how is that going to drastically alter what my day looks like? And so I think seeing the rally, having the legislators talk about the budget, what they're going to do to hopefully put a stop to any of the cuts. I think that had the most impact for some of the individuals that had gone with groups in the past. In February, it was really impactful for them to be able to really have an understanding of what those cuts looked like, and then be able to say why we need to attend a program and why it matters.
Yeah, and just for some context, the first time we went was Disability Rights Legislative Day, which is a day at the Capitol that's put on by various organizations for self-advocates and providers to come to the Capitol and share information about, people with disabilities and how we're supporting them. And then at that point in time of the year, I think that was very early March into February. I can't remember the exact date, but Missouri's budget, there had been a proposal to cut a large chunk of our budget for the waiver services, and that was currently sitting in the House. They were debating it, and at that point, everything was kind of up in the air. So there was a lot of anxiety about it and things like that. And I think that at that point, it becomes our job to share that information with our clients, because we don't want them to be naive to that, and they deserve to have that information, but also to share it with them in a way that doesn't cause a lot of anxiety, which is a huge balance. And so I think that that's really important.
To go along with that, in preparation, we're focusing on, why is day program fun? What do we enjoy about day program? And then I think that helps kind of switch that narrative to make it more of a positive light, rather than, that being rooted in anxiety. Then we can help them determine, what do I really like about day program? What outings do I enjoy? And so it shifts the focus from just the political side to the personal side of what I enjoy, and why do I do what I do each day.
And I would say the first time we went on the scheduled Disability Rights Legislative Day, everything was up in the air as far as the budget cuts. They were sitting in the House at that point. They hadn't been, voted on or anything like that. And so after that, the House kind of restored our funds, and then it went on to the Senate. And so we were able to take our time and go back to the Capitol a second time, and we wrote thank you cards to the legislators who voted in favor of restoring those funds, which was really nice. And so I would say the difference of the energy on Disability Rights Legislative Day versus the energy on the day that, we just took out of our time to go back and say thank you was a lot different too.
And I think we should definitely take a moment to pay homage to you for scheduling all of these things and setting these things up, because when we get there, you have already gotten everything.
I try, but sometimes I'm like, where are you at?
Yeah, absolutely. And, and we see that as a team. Our clients see that as our attendees as well. And like you were talking about the conversation, Emma, about, they are getting to see, why do we like day program? Why do we want to keep day program around? Things like that. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation with the female client that we took, because she wanted to know, she wanted to understand when I said, we're going to represent Restoring Hope, Excel, Danielle, Emma, all of us, we're going to stand together as a team, and we're going to talk about why we want to keep day program. And she started to express all of these reasons, just like you had mentioned, of why do I want to keep day program, and she started to think about it, and she said, well, I need day program. I need day program because it helps me think better. I need day program because it helps me talk to people. I've made friends here. I get to do cool stuff in the community. Just like you had mentioned, she gets to experience that, and those conversations are the important conversations to have, and that's what Legislative Day is about, is representing and having those conversations.
Yeah, and I would say it's really important to bring them into that, because one, we want them to advocate for themselves, but two, while the House and the Senate at this point are in favor of, restoring the cuts that were proposed to our budget, there is still a lot of work to be done before that's finalized. Mm-hmm. And not that anything may take place this year, because the budget very well could be restored, but say there is a time that comes where there are budget cuts that are made and that impacts the program in one way or another. I don't necessarily know exactly what that looks like, and I don't think we would know that until something like that happened. But at that point, we've brought the clients into that conversation. They have done part of the work, to advocate for themselves, and it's so important because they're going to have kind of a different perspective on what those impacts look like, and not only a different perspective, but they will know that, okay, well, I tried my best and I was brought into this conversation, and one way or another, I did have an impact.
Absolutely. How do you feel on your side of things, if you don't mind me asking? How do you feel when you're gathering the information and setting this up for all of us to go and meet and communicate with the legislators? I mean, what is it that you're looking for when you sit down and schedule all of this stuff?
Yeah, so when I schedule Disability Rights Legislative Day, it's actually a fairly long process. At this point, I'm pretty familiar with what legislators are in the areas that we serve. And so I know the areas that we have programs and the areas that we're looking, maybe to expand to in the future. And those are really the legislators that we want to hit on those days. And so I basically just start communicating with their LA, which is their legislative assistant, and setting up a meeting for them. And then I just try to learn as much as I can about each legislator so that we can relate to them and conversate with them and kind of get to know what's important to them. I think that that's important for our clients as well, to get to know how you get to know somebody. We're building relationships all the time, and those are really important relationships. So those are kind of the things I'm considering. And then I set up the schedule of, okay, at this time, this group's going to go here and this group's going to go here. And I try to pair the groups to speak to the legislators that serve their community, obviously. And sometimes it works out great and we hit every legislator we're scheduled for. And then sometimes we're like, where is everybody? And that can be frustrating. I do feel like a lot of times they're on the floor, but sometimes you just got to go pull them off the floor and say, hey, we need 5 minutes of your time. And we did that with at least one of the legislators on Disability Rights Legislative Day. We just went and pulled her off the floor and said thank you. She was a huge advocate for our people and for the budget that was impacting them. And I think that it's interesting when you speak to the legislators, it's almost like, if you could imagine being in that position of how exhausting it would be, somebody's always going to need something from you, and you're going to be being pulled in 5 million different directions all day long of, hey, I need you over here. I need you over here. I need to educate you on this. I need to educate you on this. And just how draining that would probably be. And I think that it's so important for us to sometimes just go to a legislator and say, hey, thank you. We really appreciate what you're doing. And, it takes you and your support for us to be able to continue to do our job. And we just want to say thank you. And we were able to do that with one, Representative Betsy Fogel out of Springfield. And we just said, hey, thank you. And I think it's interesting. We pulled her off the floor and she came out and it was kind of like, okay, what do you want? I'm here. But then it was like, hey, we just want to say thank you. And just her face lit up and she was smiling and interacting with us. And I just think hopefully we made a difference in her day.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I think a lot of times we're sharing a lot of data with the legislators. How many people are in the programs, why this rate makes sense, why you can't cut our rate in half. That's not feasible. And so all of that can be so dry and we give them all of this data. But on this day, we really get to share those personal stories. And I think that personal stories are, really, really important as far as getting them to see the individuals that we serve as people.
Certainly.
Yeah. Okay, so any unique challenges you guys experience on Disability Rights Legislative Day, Emma?
I would say overcoming the challenges of not being able to see those legislators in person. I think, we talk to the individuals like, this is who you're going to talk to. These are the type of interactions you might have. Here's, how we can best prepare you. What do you like? What do you don't like about programs? What you want to see changed. And then they don't get to see them, so we go to the door and then they're on the floor. We're not able to have that interaction, and just keeping the clients positive, keeping their mindset hopeful, and being able to know that they're still making a difference, even if they didn't get that back and forth interaction from those legislators. I would say in years past has been a challenge when we don't get to see them in person. Those clients don't see, in that moment, that connection that they're really wanting. But understanding that they're still having an impact, I think, is where that opening rally is really important, is that they still feel a part of something bigger than them. And so I would say that would be one of the major challenges, is just making sure that their mindsets stay positive and that they remain hopeful, even if they don't get to see those initial interactions.
Certainly.
What about for you? Any unique challenges?
Well, that being said, I think the only other challenge that is a big enough challenge to address is just the space. There is a little bit of a crowded atmosphere when you're there, even in the restroom. Sometimes there's a line for the restroom. So when you have so many attendees and clients that have all of these, not necessarily issues, but challenges with social anxiety, that was one of the ones. I've gone a couple years now, and we had a young gentleman who had gone, and he expressed that at the rally he was a little uncomfortable, and it was shoulder to shoulder at the rally when you're at the bottom.
I'm uncomfortable at the rally.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you talk all the time about how you love the rally and how it's so important, and I recognize its importance. I really do. But when I am in the rally, I am like, is this done? I need away from all these people. You are shoulder to shoulder, and at some point it fills up and they block it off and nobody else can get in, and somehow people are still squeezing in.
Yeah. This year we took a different approach, actually, myself and my attendee, the young lady. We didn't want to be shoulder to shoulder. And this was her first time being there, and I was like, well, you know what? We're going to go to the top floor. So we went in the top, and it was an entire different experience when you're down underneath and you're face to face with all of these other people, and you get to see the rally from the bottom. You're in it, but when you go up top, you're over all of it, and it's so much more enjoyable. If you have any sort of social anxiety, or if you are nervous in crowds, claustrophobic, anything like that, and that was the biggest challenge, was getting through those crowds, especially when you're only 4'11", you know? So it's one of those, I think that's, aside from the disappointment of not getting to see some legislators, that's the only other challenge, is the crowds, navigating where you're going and not running into people left and right, especially when you're trying to keep everybody else around you light and happy and positive.
Yeah, the Capitol in itself is a little bit of a challenge, just navigating it. And it was a big day. And if I remember correctly, when we were there on Disability Rights Legislative Day, there was another big group there for something else. And so it's not like we have the Capitol to ourselves that day by any means. It's like we're there on top of everybody else for the day.
Well, and the second time we had gone, it was so much more easy to maneuver the building because there was a few less people than when we go for our...
And the second time we went, it was almost much more relaxed as far as the amount of people that were there and the energy in the building. But we made time for the museum. We made time for the library. The individuals got to explore that while we were there. So that was great too.
And it's a push and pull thing. You want all those people there. You want all of that support, but it's also, is there any more space we can stretch out a little bit kind of thing?
Yeah, for sure. I loved going 2 days. I don't know how you guys felt or what your feedback is as far as going back a second time, if that's something we want to continue doing each year. But the second day, I mean, it was just a whole different feeling.
I think that's valuable too. If we could get programs to bring majority of the clients, if not at least half, I think that was very valuable. A lot of them that didn't get to go, for the actual event itself, we bring one client. The people that didn't get to go, they got to experience it as well, and they got to it was more personal. It was very much more personal. They were a little bit chill paced. It was really nice.
Yeah. And for somebody who has social anxiety and is nervous about going, I know we've had some individuals before where we've thought, oh, this person, we're going to invite them to go on Disability Rights Legislative Day. And then we propose that idea to them and they're like, no, I do not want to do that. And we're like, what a bummer. But taking them on that second day where it's, a lot less chaotic may give them the courage the following year to go on the actual Disability Rights Legislative Day since they've kind of gotten their feet wet.
I think everybody looks forward to the pizza afterwards, so that's...
Of course. I don't look forward to the pizza. I look forward to the ranch dressing.
I was going to say the ranch.
And ice cream.
I really enjoyed going back the second time, less chaotic. And then we were able to see Warsaw brought the entire program along with some of the DSPs. And I really enjoyed getting to have a lot of our DSPs present to be able to experience that with the clients. That raises the buy-in for the DSPs. They're directly affected by seeing, just the legislators and having those conversations as well. So I think, alongside with the individuals that might experience more of that social anxiety, with just having more individuals there and, a lot of our individuals now attending the Warsaw program are able to recall 2 years ago when they went. And so it's something, it's a memory for them. A lot of our individuals aren't able to travel long distances. And so when they're attending the day program, for our Springfield individuals, this is a really long trip for them. And it's a full day. It's a packed day. We pack it full with activities for them and we try to make it fun. But it is something that has a lasting impact that they're able to recall, and one of those memories that, it speaks to why we do what we do. And they're able to enjoy it. That's something that they go home and tell their families about, whether they view them as celebrities, they're still just getting that long, that experience. And then, having that memory with their friends is really important.
For sure. It's my favorite day of the year.
Yeah.
I say that every year. I love it.
I think moving forward,
into it.
I'm excited to see the more individuals that we're able to bring. So, typically we bring a couple. If the programs are small, we've brought all of the individuals in that program, but we have some individuals that come to mind when I think of, disability rights and areas that I know that they could have an impact. I think, in years to come, it'll be fun to get them to the point where they're comfortable and, showcasing their skills and to the legislators. I think that'll be really exciting.
Absolutely. Anything else from you, Danielle?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
Okay.
Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.